Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. If you're looking for jewelry that makes an impact on your self-care routine and your style, Empowerography would love to offer you a discount code to one of our exclusive partners, Quartz and Canary Jewelry and Wellness Company. Please use code EMPOWER15 to receive 15% off upon checkout at www.quartzandcanary.com. Quartz and Canary is truly the place where spirituality meets style. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Brook Sheehan. She is a chiropractor based in Southern California. How are you doing today, Brook?
I'm doing great, Brad. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with your audience and be here today with you.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to be part of the podcast, and you are now a member of the Empowerography community, so thank you for that, and thank you for agreeing to share your story and your journey with us here today. I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
So, as I mentioned, you're a chiropractor. You're known as the chiropractor extraordinaire. You're also known as the body whisperer. How did you get labeled with these nicknames? Who gave them to you?
So, to be honest, I've kind of given them to myself.
I love it.
and really, I think that it starts, so chiropractor extraordinaire in the sense like, and I might be jumping around here a little bit, but I practice a technique in chiropractic that's different than what the traditional chiropractic practice most people might be used to, where you go into the office, you lie down on the table, the doctor kind of checks you posturally and, maybe like pushes on your spine, checks to see if there's any restrictions and movement, all that kind of stuff. And then they adjust you, which is great. And there's a lot of, health benefits to that. The practice, chiropractic practice that I work in is called the right technique. And that really stands for removing interference to energy. Essentially what that is the body has its own language. This is very different than the traditional body language. Like if I was standing here with my arms crossed, giving you a weird look, maybe, oh, Brooke's angry or she's not receptive to what I'm doing. That's body language, learning to read someone's body language.
Right.
But individual people, as human beings, our bodies carry with it its own language. And when we learn to kind of tap in and learn to listen to what our body is saying, we're able to address the stresses, whether it's, structural, whether it's neurological, whether there's some chemical imbalances like via hormones. All of these different things play a factor in health. And it's not just about adjusting the spine structurally, but it's really looking at a much bigger, grander picture on what is going on in Brad's body currently and what is his body saying. And so by using this technique through our testing, we're able to lay out a treatment plan based on the priority system of your particular body.
Okay.
Does that you may have some questions. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Absolutely. So what about the body whisperer?
So essentially the body whisper is that idea of being able to like whisper to the body and have the body like speak back to me. So through the technique, I'm able to essentially kind of tap into what your body is saying, like, by quote unquote whispering to it, not actually.
Yeah, you're not leaning down.
Yes, exactly. But really just like tuning into like what that system is saying and how it needs to be treated. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Give yourself 2 nicknames. That's awesome. So how long have you been a chiropractor now, Brooke?
So I have officially been a chiropractor for a little over a year.
Okay.
Graduated 2019, started practice in 2020. Obviously a pandemic started that year. So it's been quite interesting, but I've been in the chiropractic realm for the last like 7 or so years prior to even going into school. So I'm very, officially the doctor for the past year, but, in terms of chiropractic philosophy and healthcare, many more years beyond that.
Okay. So what made you arrive at the decision? Like, how did you decide you wanted to get into chiropractic work?
Interesting question, Brad. So my background actually is in accounting. And from a really young age, I, had this deep desire to be an entrepreneur and have my own business. I had experienced Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book by Robert Kiyosaki that really talked about this whole idea of how, entrepreneurs are the ones kind of making the biggest changes in the world. They're making a lot of money. They're doing all of these things to impact humanity in ways beyond just the average like 9-to-5 person. So I went into accounting with this idea that I'm going to learn accounting, and not from like a traditional, I'm going to go get my accounting degree and become a CPA, but I'm going to know enough about accounting that when I own my own business one day, that my accountant isn't going to be able to pull the wool over my eyes and, do tax evasion, or, you hear these crazy stories about business owners who have no understanding on the financial world, and they kind of get in and mixed up with all these people that, unfortunately the story, doesn't go well for them.
Right.
So that was kind of where I started. I was working in the accounting field since I was 18-ish. So, I've been there like for 12 years or so, and, unfortunately ended up in a really abusive relationship with a man who, narcissistic, all of these kind of things. I got married to him. I had a child with him. And it wasn't until I became a mother that catalyst for change and understanding that I deserve so much more was ignited inside of me. And so I always say that my child like changed the whole trajectory of my life. And, I was able to muster up the courage to leave that abusive relationship and get out of it. But it was through the mentorship of some of these chiropractic doctors in San Diego, California, that helped me kind of see the pitfalls of that.
So would you say then that these other chiropractic doctors that you were speaking with and mentoring under, would you say that that was kind of like the light bulb moment for you then to get out of that and start like to say, okay, I've had enough. It's time to start taking care of me and putting myself first and thinking about me?
Not necessarily. So I'm going to share with you a very vulnerable story, and it's
okay.
not something that I'm very proud, but I think that it could help some of your listeners or help some other people that might be in situations in abusive relationships find the courage to get out of it. So, I was under chiropractic care, and I don't think I mentioned this in a prior question, but I was under chiropractic care during that pregnancy. More to make sure my body was in alignment, to make sure that I could deliver this child with no issues. One thing about myself is that I was born with a mild case of cerebral palsy, which happens most of the time for most people with it. It's not hereditary. It doesn't get progressively worse. It's like whatever you have that's the level you have for the rest of your life. But what happens is you lose oxygen as you're coming out of your mother's womb.
Okay.
And so for me, that it affected 5% of my gross motor skills, and it affects only the right side of my body. So my right hand and my right foot.
Okay.
And so it's not super pronounced. Definitely if you know about it, you can kind of see it maybe. And so for me, it was really important to get my body in alignment to do what I can so that my daughter didn't have to experience like the potential of having cerebral palsy when, she was born.
Right.
So that was really why I even started seeing a chiropractor in the first place. But and I built up these relationships with them, and, they were speaking life into me. And, obviously I was going home to this, like horrible relationship, and they were just, so it was always like a light in the darkness.
Yeah.
And when my daughter was about, like, I remember, and oh my God, I can't even believe I'm saying this. So she was like newborn.
Yeah.
And I was nursing her, and my ex-husband had come into the house, and he's like yelling at me about something I didn't do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can never do enough for a narcissistic person. You'll never be enough. You'll never be good enough. It's all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a visual, like this vivid moment in my mind where I had my child, and I was visualizing just throwing her like across the room at him in so much anger and rage. And it was at that point in time where I realized I have got to, I didn't do it. I just have to say, I did not do it.
Yes, of course.
She stayed with mom, all that kind of stuff. But the fact that clear visual, thing, and that desire to like do that because I was so angry at him would have even come into my mind. Like, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I said, if I don't get help, if I don't get some professional help, then I'm going to continue the same habitual, cycle with my daughter as she gets older, so she's going to be emotionally broken, and she's going to deal with all these, like, self-image issues and all this kind of stuff. So I need to get help so I can be a good example for her. So I actually started therapy with a professional therapist, psychologist, that was helping me work through this. And then having the chiropractic community kind of band around me and, be that extra light beyond just my, weekly sessions with her, with the therapist. And so that is kind of all in all on how, I really got in there, and how I arrived at that decision to become a chiropractor.
Wow, that is incredible. Yeah. Thank you, first of all, for sharing that incredibly vulnerable moment. That's just, wow, incredible that you had the courage to share it. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. But good for you for finally reaching that point where you said, enough, I've got to start thinking of me and my daughter, and that's it. We have to be the focus. And this was the catalyst that did it. So good for you for doing that. I think that's amazingly strong and courageous of you, because sometimes, you think about all the people that are stuck in relationships that they're not happy and they just stay in it because they don't know what to do, or they're scared, or so for you to actually take action and do, I think that's incredible, incredibly courageous.
I think the biggest thing for people in terms of leaving abusive relationships is feeling like they almost, in a sick kind of way, need that other person in order to be who they are.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, looking back on it, like, I'm like, he loved me more than I loved myself. So how, like, I'm stupid not to marry this guy. I'm stupid to, like, not get in a relationship with him, like, even though there was red flags and there was all kinds of stuff happening and, all of this. And so I think the biggest thing, though, is there is a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear on, can you make it? Especially for me, like, a brand new mom working full time. He was bringing in a lot of income into the house. And so it's like, can I separate myself from this and still be able to take care of this human being?
Yeah.
And financially take care of my own needs,
For sure.
So, yeah.
So how would you say these experiences have helped shape the Brook that you are today?
Ooh, well, I think, it sounds very cliche about the phoenix, rising from the ashes and all of that kind of stuff. But the experiences of going through, the childhood trauma of being bullied and made fun of for how I'm walking, and then, not having the self-worth, and getting into these relationships and doing what I did, has helped really allowed me, like, I guess, to look back and realize, oh my God, none of that killed me. Like, I am here today on this call with you, alive, vibrant, well, all of this stuff, because every single moment of that, I grew stronger. And I, like, did not allow my mind to take me into dark places once I realized I have to caveat that. Like once I realized it was always taking me into dark places, and I began to like stand up for myself and push through those fears and push through things that felt uncomfortable and, you know, challenged me, it's really helped shape me into becoming this woman with a strong mindset, a woman who's like not afraid. You know, I wouldn't say not afraid. I am afraid. There are times that I'm afraid, but I challenge myself. I push myself and I go, okay, how did you grow in that instance? You know, looking back on it, or what could you have done differently? And so, you know, I believe life is just merely an experience. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not ugly or nasty or whatever. It's literally an experience. And what we take from each of those experiences, good, bad, ugly, nasty, whatever, what lesson can we apply? And how does it kind of, like you said, like shape us in the future? Like, how does it help us become the next greater version of ourselves?
Awesome. I love it. Now, not only are you a chiropractor, you're also an entrepreneur that has started up an app company. Can you talk to or tell us a bit about that venture?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I mentioned earlier how, you know, I had this desire to be an entrepreneur in my life when I was younger. And I was like, I'm going to own my own business one day. I had no idea what that was going to look like or what that was going to be like. I mean, the one regret, if I did have any regret, is that I didn't start a business sooner. You know, I had a lot of mental baggage to unpack and do away with. And, you know, like business is, you know, one of those things where you have to have a lot of belief in yourself and be willing to kind of put yourself out there. And it can be very scary. But yeah, so while I was in chiropractic school, going through grad school, I found myself in a situation along with my best friend. So her and I both were in this situation together where our kids were both sleeping. We were baking something in the evening for the kids' bake sale the next morning. And, you know, one of us could have left, but we didn't. And so we were missing a food ingredient. And so she ends up texting her neighbor, the one neighbor she knew, and kind of, you know, was able to get the couple eggs that we needed and whatnot. So we finished our baking and went about our day. Well, a month later, I was back in San Francisco Bay Area. That's one part of the story I didn't mention. I was living in San Francisco while I was going to grad school. Okay. My best friend was here in San Diego. And so when I went back to grad school, I was in my apartment complex making a recipe I've never made before. And it called for a sauce. I'm not even going to try to say it right now because I will kill it. You remember Worcestershire?
Worcestershire.
There you go. There you go. So the recipe called for this sauce. And I'm such an introvert. Like, I didn't know people in my apartment complex like she did. And I'm like, I'm not about to like knock on a door like, hey, you know, whatever. So went to the grocery store and bought a brand new bottle, used it twice. Okay. 2 times I used it and it just sat in my refrigerator. And so, you know, it got me thinking, and I kind of woke up in a flash one night with just huge downloads of all these things like, oh my gosh, the cup of sugar philosophy that our grandparents like grew up with, where they actually had a sense of community and knew each other and can go and borrow things and all this kind of stuff. It's died out with today's modern age and technology, and people just, you know, we applaud people. You're an influencer. You have 1,000 followers. You have 100,000 subscribers. You have this, you have that, whatever. Right. Yeah. Yet we don't even know the very own people that live right next door to us. Yeah. You know, we go into our homes, we do our YouTubes, we do this, we do that, whatever. And then the very same people that make up our hyper local communities, it's like, hey, if you see them coming to the mailbox, but that's it, you run inside, you know? Yeah. And so cup O sugar, it's kind of a spin-off like the Irish O. So it's cup O with the apostrophe sugar was born out of this desire that, you know, food waste is huge in America and across the world. Actually, I know you're in Canada, but across the world, 40% of it just goes to the waste, you know, and we don't have community like we used to. And so in a way, Cup of Sugar helps bridge the gap between both of those, and really allows people to connect with their communities over sharing and requesting food ingredients. And, you know, food is our master connector, and it helps break the ice. Like if you're introverted like me, you know, jumping on the app and requesting a tomato or sharing an item on there, you know, is simple to do because you know what that platform is designed for that. So it's not, doesn't feel so weird to ask.
Yeah.
I think as human beings, you know, it's so easy for us to like offer help. If somebody asks us, hey, can you give me a tomato? Oh, sure. You need 3 of them. I have 6. Here you go. Here's my 3, whatever.
Yeah.
But when we need help ourselves, it's like, oh my God, we're like looking around like, do I say something? What do I say? Like we cower inside and we're like, no way. I'm not going to show that.
That's fear. I think that's part of that's fear of rejection, right?
Totally. So that's kind of where the entrepreneurial journey started for me, is back in 2017 when we worked on getting this project up and going. And so it's on the iPhone platform only at the moment.
Okay.
So it's downloadable. So if people are interested in getting it, download it, maybe share it with your local community and connect with each other. So
that is so cool. What a great idea. I think that's brilliant. Like you said, it's marrying the concept, bringing the concept of community back. And this seems to be a theme that's popping up quite a bit lately for me personally. I think it's incredible. Absolutely. What a brilliant idea. And like you said, food is a connector as well. So it's bridging 2 gaps. I think it's amazing.
Absolutely. And, you know, especially in the time of COVID, when we're recording, you know, there's been this whole, you know, you can only like really kind of say hi to your neighbors from afar, and people don't feel like they're having that sense of community and that human connection feel. And so I just want to mention for the user or for the audience is the way that Cup of Sugar works is once you post an item to share or you request an item that you need, there's a one-to-one chat feature that gets, you know, started or, you know, engaged with once somebody is willing to help in whatever it is that you're looking for. And so you can do, you know, similar to what these major food delivery people are doing in the sense of like, do you want contactless delivery? Do you want me to put it in your mailbox or by your front door, or, you know,
that is so cool.
Yeah. So you don't, you know, so it still has the aspect of being able to connect, but then you don't have to actually be touching, you know? Right.
So when the person goes on, downloads the app, they go in and I'm assuming they register with their address, their name, all that stuff. And then how does it work? Like, do people around you that have registered pop up when you see when you're looking for something?
Yeah. So the way that it works, so like when you go on and you register, similar to what you're saying, you put in your address. That address is your behind the scenes profile. It's not public knowledge.
Okay.
You don't give your address away unless you absolutely want to. Like, hey, come pick the item up from here. Mm-hmm. You know, you could even do it like we've been working with a lot of apartment complexes. So it's like you could even, hey, meet me down in the lobby in 5 minutes or like that kind of stuff. But it will bring up, you know, once you download it, it'll tell you how many people within like a certain radius of, you know, of you, like 5 miles or so, I think. Right. We've been trying to shorten that gap a little bit because 5 miles is still kind of long. Yeah. But it just kind of shows you in the community who has it. And then the listings of the food items that people have put up to share, you know, the ones that are closest to you are going to show up at top. Right. And then the ones furthest away will be at the bottom. And then the same thing with the requesting, like, you know, you go into the neighborhood needs, it's called, menu option. And then you can see what people are requesting.
That is brilliant. I love that idea. I think that's an amazing thing you've created. Beautiful.
Thank you.
That is so amazing. Do you have formal training on app building, or how did this, how did you get into this? Like, I know where the idea came from. You just told us, but I mean, to develop the app, how did that come about?
Yeah, that's quite a story in and of itself. So no formal education or training on app building. We actually hired our app, the actual tech build out to a development company. We met them in Portugal. Actually, we went to Portugal for a huge tech conference back in 2017.
Okay.
And my co-founder and I, and they happened to be like showcasing some of their services, and like we hired them on and worked with them, and they did all the build. But to get to Portugal, to get to that whole step, it's like one of the things that I think that stops people in their tracks from ever pursuing any sort of venture that they have in their heart or in their mind or whatever is this factor of fear, like you talked about, fear of rejection, fear of starting, fear of all of these things that their monkey brain starts to engage to tell them why they can't do something. Yeah. And so, when I woke up that morning and I told you I had this huge download and I'm writing all this stuff down, and I'm writing like as these ideas are I'm literally vomiting on a sheet of paper, all these words, right? Like what I wanted to look like, ideas, like, everything. And so like that from there on, like it was a series of, okay, I'm talking to my best friend and we're both on the same page, yet here we both are like, do we post this on our social media? Like, what do we say? Oh my God, what are people going to think of us? Like everything, like all the high alert going on. And so we like literally took a baby step, and I like posted on my social media, like, hey, does anybody know anybody who does app development? And from there, it was like, okay, these tiny little baby steps. Oh, my friend so-and-so who knows so-and-so does stuff. And then we would schedule a meeting with them, and then we'd share with them like our vision of what we want it to look like. And if they could actually like come through with it. And then we'd, and it was like a series of introductions to different people that led us to getting to Portugal, to actually securing the development team that we did. But we had 4 or 5 interviews with other app builders that could do some of what we wanted and not everything. The thing for us is yes, food is the master connector, right, but time is our greatest asset. Yes. And when we are sitting there, like having to type in every single food item, like, oh, I have an extra box of granola bars because my daughter doesn't want to eat them anymore. If I'm having to sit there and type in, okay, granola bar 1, granola bar 2, like, nobody wants to do that. You need to take barriers of entry out for people and make it simple and easy for them to engage with you. So what we did was we embedded product scanning software into the platform. So you just scan the UPC code of the item you want to share, and everything is there. And you just hit, upload. And so, all of those things, like those were facets that we had to work with the development team to make sure those things kind of happen. So Ed Milet is a huge entrepreneur in the finance world. Some may know him, some may not, but one of the greatest things I've heard him say is that entrepreneurship is the greatest personal development journey you will ever go on. And so recognizing that you will grow as an individual by creating, building, and developing your company, like understanding that even the smallest step like can make a big difference, and just to kind of keep going. Because if my story is of any inspiration to anybody, like I've had 0 training on app building, and now I can actually carry on a conversation with the tech team and go, no, blah, 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 in their language that they understand. Similar to, I guess, what I'm doing with the body now, like talking to the body in the way that it understands.
That is awesome. You're right. I would have to agree that entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development tool that one of the biggest personal development tools, because it stretches you. It takes you to places that you don't want to go. It takes you out of your comfort zone. That's for damn sure.
Oh gosh, that is 100% truth.
It's amazing what it can do for you and develop you as a person. 100%. Yep. I can't. Nothing else comes to mind that is quicker in terms of personal development.
Oh right, I know. You're speaking my language, Brad.
What would you say is the most exciting part for you about being an entrepreneur?
I would say the most exciting part for me is actually that development, that personal. Like I have dedicated my life for my daughter will be 10 this year, for going on 10 years, to becoming a better version of myself, to becoming the person that I've been created and designed to become, to live out that purpose and that journey as an entrepreneur, as a doctor, like the way that I'm able to help other entrepreneurs as a doctor with the work that I do, is just like, it excites me every single day to like be able to develop myself on the journey, but also B, to help other entrepreneurs take care of themselves physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, so that they can continue to stay in the financial lane, so that they can continue to stay in the business creation mode and do it in a way where their legacy is going to be felt for years to come, and their life isn't going to be cut short because of, some sort of disease that they picked up along the way.
Right.
Yeah.
To date, what would you say is your biggest high or your greatest win?
Oh, I'd say honestly, becoming a mom. My biggest high, greatest win was becoming a mom. And had I not become a mom in that situation in my life, like I'm wondering where the trajectory of my life would be today.
Okay. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I like to connect. As an introvert, it's not in the most traditional senses, in the sense of being at networking events and being the person, that's running around like, hi, I'm Dr. Brook. Hi. But I really do think that, I connect in a way where it's a memorable connection with people, like I may be following a podcast for a while and know a little bit about the host, so that when I see them live in person, I can connect with them on the basis of, hey, I've heard your show, or I've had, like those kind of things. And so having that connection piece, and it not be because of anything, but just merely wanting to connect. I think relationship capital is really important in today's day and age.
For sure.
And that helps you become successful. Like I think about all of the partnerships we've made with Cup of Sugar, and how we've done that through connections with others and connections with other companies. And, just kind of being able to connect, but then having a sense of fun around it as well, not be super stale, like business. Like I'm in my suit, I'm talking to Brad, and I you know what I mean? Like very
stiff and
yes, you have to be more fluid, and I like to laugh and I like to smile, and I think that that's like something that has helped definitely.
Well, it's personable. It makes you more personable and lets people know that you are easier to speak to, or that it's just it's more of a personable thing, I think.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
So speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does that word mean to you?
Ooh, I like this question. Success to me, because it's such a individual response, and we hear so many gurus talk about, are you successful, being successful in business? But honestly, like, success to me is having all of those pillars that I spoke about, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and the financial pillar, really in alignment with the vision that you want for your life. So, some people aren't looking for fame and power and, big, lights and stages and those kind of things. They're just looking for these basic, their basic needs met, and finding joy in all of that physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, and financial, aspects. So success is, for me, to just kind of put it in a nutshell, is like having congruency in all of those, to where you just have this, really nice flow between being healthy physically mentally, your emotions in check. Like, doesn't mean you're not going to be mad and get frustrated sometimes, because the reality is we're human. But it's just understanding, again, going back to what I said, that life is an experience. And it's the reaction or how we choose to respond to that experience that makes all the difference. And that to me is success.
Awesome. I love it. What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
Oh, I feel inspired and I'm not saying this just because I'm talking to you, but I feel inspired by doing stuff like this. I feel my best self by doing stuff like this, by teaching, by sharing, by connecting. Those are really important things to me.
Well, it's all part of it. It goes back to the base of community again, right? What we're doing here is community and sharing to help strengthen and better the community.
Yes.
So yeah. I think everything starts with community. Well, I mean, everything starts with self, but community is a huge part of all of it, I think.
I agree, because community help, like you said, it begins with self. You have to get self healthy so that you can, be better engaging with the community.
Mm-hmm.
Part of getting self, healthy is engaging with that community. It's like, we're so lacking in that human connection right now. It's like people need a hug. People just need to be like, like their shoulders touched, like, hey, I feel you, I hear you, I see you, and so connection is very, very big.
For sure. What would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received?
I love it. Best pieces of advice I've ever received is there's no such thing as balance. And I at first, I felt like such a sacred cow that got slaughtered on the, holy grail of whatever. Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because it's everything. Everybody's like, balance. You have to find balance. And it's like, the reality is, it's like, there is no such thing, like, Brad, you're doing podcast interviews right now. Like, you are focused on those interviews, you're not focused on all the other stuff. You're not balanced. You're not like 20 minutes podcast and then 20 minutes I'm going to be like doing this and whatever. It's like you're focusing a lot of attention on the front end of this. And then on the back end, like towards the end of your day, you're going to be focused and hyper focused on something else. And that's the great thing, is like, there's this dynamic flow, and that's how the body works like this. There is no balance in the body. The body is constantly looking for homeostasis, which is a state at which it's, like kind of in this even keel, but it's constantly shifting, right? Our blood pressure is constantly shifting. Our hormones are this, like everything is moving, but it's always constantly looking to come back to, okay, we might have to have the heart racing super fast right now because we're jogging, but we know we're going to be resting soon. So we're okay with that. We know we're not going to be like racing, for 30 hours straight.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. What's something people seem to misunderstand about you?
Can you rephrase this a little different? Let's see. Like, what were you thinking here?
Well, when someone meets you or sees you, people tend to jump to conclusions. So what would be something that you've been told that people thought about you that is absolutely false?
Okay, so I hope this doesn't come across the wrong way. So I told you in an earlier question that I like to laugh and I like to smile, and, I connect with people on the sense of like, hey, I love your podcast, or I love your show, or, that was such a great whatever. And so sometimes, in a lot of senses, this might be males, but then it can come across, you're laughing. This can come across flirtatious. And like, this is something, I've had all these conversations with my best friend about it. Obviously, girls chat with each other, right? And so it's no surprise there. But, it's like, don't like misinterpret my passion and my excitement about something as like flirtation, like I get really passionate and really excited when I like hear entrepreneurs like speaking about like impactful things they're doing in the world, or like people talking about health in a different way, and like I'm like, yeah, like biggest cheerleader, like rooting it on.
Yeah.
but it's not meaning like I'm trying to date you. Like, like don't take it the wrong way, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, so I feel like that might be something people seem to misunderstand about me. Like I am passionate, I'm driven in a certain sense, but that's all it is.
Yeah.
So,
all right. What would you say is one of your favorite quotes?
my favorite quote, and I'm pulling it up right now so I can say it exactly as is, but it's a quote by Steve Jobs. And he says, "You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will connect in your future. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life." End quote. And that quote speaks to me in so many different ways, in so many different, like, I mean, it's so true. Like I look back on my life and I see how every single experience, every single thing that happened has led me to where I am in this moment in time. And, I can't look forward and say, okay, this is what it's going to be like, but I have to like knowingly take every step forward, trusting that the next dot will be connected, bringing me to that full potential or that full purpose that I believe that, I have to share with the world.
Love it. Yes, he was quite an insightful and brilliant man, that's for sure. A great businessman, that's for sure.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
What does the word empowerment mean to you, Brooke?
Empowerment means to me is really learning to rewind a little bit. Make a note of that.
All right.
I was like, I feel like I was gonna say it. So empowerment to me means really understanding who you are at your core, learning to love the person you are, like willing to learn and grow and develop those aspects about yourself that, they might quote unquote seem like weaknesses, but really finding your voice and empowering yourself in knowing, to relate this back to the human body. I feel like when we're empowered, when we know what's happening, say we have a tummy ache or something, maybe we have like chest pains, we may not feel empowered in those situations and we might start freaking ourselves out and we're having a heart attack and oh my God. But if we're empowered to kind of know and tune into those kind of things, we're able to approach things from a sense of strength and a sense of knowing. And so like in a nutshell, again, empowerment is just really knowing those aspects about yourself, loving those aspects about yourself, and be willing to kind of show up in the world as that person and not somebody else.
Love it. What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after learning it?
The most important thing I've learned in my life is that people are going to have their opinions, have their thoughts about things. You might feel like, quote unquote, they're rejecting you, when in reality, it's like they weren't even thinking along the lines that you were thinking. I think that we put so much like thought into what other people might be thinking about us without realizing that they don't care about us. They're thinking about themselves. Mm-hmm. And so learning this in life, I remember, at a young age, really feeling like I'd invite like 5 people to my birthday party and one person would show up. And the 4 other people might have said, we can't come because we have Girl Scouts or we have this or we have that, whatever it was. But I felt so rejected because I was like, oh, Sarah's birthday party, she had 15 people there and and all these things. And so I kind of carried this with me in life until I realized, oh no, it's because Sarah's parents continually, quote unquote, marketed or promoted the birthday party more so than maybe my parents did. And it's not about like, sending out an invitation one time or telling somebody about something one time, but constantly having those reminders along the way. So I would say that the most important thing I've learned in life is that it's not a matter of putting something out once, like sharing something once with somebody or telling them about your birthday party or whatever, but constantly, not in a naggy way, but constantly like having those like reminders. Marketers in business do this all the time. So, and my life after learning that has really, pivoted in the sense that I don't get upset by those things anymore.
Yeah.
At least I try not to. Sometimes I might, but a lot of times I kind of put it in perspective, like, oh, no, it's because, you didn't do X, Y, and Z, or maybe you could have done things a little different. And so, yeah.
Okay. Who would you say have been the 3 most influential people in your life?
I would say it was my grandfather on my mom's side. I would say my mother, who raised 5 kids as a single mom. My grandparents helped her with that. So I would say my grandpa. And third most, I would say my daughter. She has helped me become a better person.
Can you share a situation that's occurred in your life that you feel provides insight as to your character? Who Brook is?
I don't know. Situation that occurred in my life that provides who Brook is. I mean, I would say, I'm not sure on that one, Brad.
Okay.
Or maybe we can come back to that one.
Sure.
Okay,
we're going to jump into rapid fire section here.
Awesome.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Passionate.
Money or fame?
Ooh, money.
Early bird or night owl?
Love this one. Early bird for sure.
If you were writing your autobiography, what would the title be?
Bouncing Back.
I love that. That's a great title.
I actually, because I walk with a tiny little bounce, like I told you, the cerebral palsy on my right side. So that's why Bouncing Back.
Very clever. I love it.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you think of when I say the word future?
Epic.
If you came with a warning label, what would yours say?
Oh, warning label. Can be explosive, maybe.
All right, that works.
But explosive in a good way.
What's one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Ooh, I want to have a conversation with my grandfather on my dad's side.
If you had a theme song that played every time you walked into a room, what song would that be?
Hall of Fame by The Script.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would that be?
If I could teach the world one thing, it would be to learn to love yourself, practice self-love.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change?
I would change if I could change one thing about the world, I would like to see more people coming together, like connecting, regardless of race, skin color, language, all of that.
Okay. If I had an extra hour a day, I would
read.
Mom life is
amazing.
My favorite way to unwind is
podcasting and or reading.
The last book or podcast I listened to or read was
Last podcast, Dropping Bombs by Brad Lee. Last book has been The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
What's the first thing you notice about a person?
Their eyes.
And that concludes our rapid fire section, Brooke.
Yay.
What is the most recent investment you've made in yourself?
Ooh. I've made a recent investment in my healthcare, getting healthcare myself, and on a personal level, not healthcare related, learning to. Most recent investment is in my personal branding website and that kind of stuff.
Okay. What's your personal motto?
I honestly haven't thought much about this, but thinking about it right now as you ask, I would say, to embrace fear and to push through anyways. Acknowledge it as, hey, it's in the passenger seat of the car. Let it know that you're in control, and move forward. So just moving through fear and chasing those dreams.
Let's go back to the earlier question. Can you share a situation that's occurred in your life that you feel provides insight as to your character, who Brook is?
Okay, so a situation that occurred in my life in terms of my character, or how it can like provide insight into my character, was like just the grittiness of building Cup of Sugar in the beginning of its initial stages. And we were, working on getting an investment from investor, and going through all of the quote unquote hoopla, what I like to call it, sending the reports back, doing this, answering these questions, all this kind of stuff. And, having that tenacity and that grit to continue on with the process, even when it felt like things weren't happening as fast as they could have been, and getting to the end of the build and the end of the project where the app was about to launch on the App Store and coming through with the funds in just the nick of time. I think that situation really shows how, staying in the game, regardless of, situations that might feel like the tides are turning, and understanding that, hey, you can still make this stuff happen. You just kind of got to stick with it. So I am very tenacious. That is another word I would describe myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Stop caring what others think.
Other people's opinions are none of your business, as they say.
Amen. I love it.
And lastly, Brook, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like?
Last 30 seconds to the world would be, oh gosh, I wanted to be so much more eloquent with this. Last 30 seconds would sound like, girl, you just have to learn to love yourself. You got to love every aspect of who you are, the imperfect perfection that you've been designed and built with, and just really go out there, light up the world. Don't dim your light for anybody else, and just really shine bright so that the world can see who you are, that the world can be inspired by you, that the world will gain courage from your life and what you've done, and it will give them the permission to go after their dreams and do what they need to do as well.
Beautiful. I love it. Brook, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and share your story and your journey with us today, and for being you are now part of the Empowerography community. So thank you for joining the community and just joining this tribe and sharing your story. I so appreciate you taking the time. The conversation's been wonderful. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brad. We'll talk soon.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Brook Sheehan. She is a chiropractor based in Southern California. Thank you so much, Brook. Have an awesome rest of the day.
You too.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.